Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to another Brawl Stars video. Today we're going to be talking about the best brawlers for Heist based on the damage that they're outputting. So I'm essentially going to break this up into 4 separate leaderboards. There's going to be one for just single attack damage, one for a single super damage, one for using 3 attacks plus your super, which is basically just your burst damage, how much you can output in a very short amount of time by just exhausting all the ammo you have. And finally, I'm also going to have a leaderboard for the amount of time it takes to deal 40,000 damage by yourself with no stored ammo and no super. So this is essentially like in Heist, if you were on the safe and you already sort of rushed it and then your opponents leave you there on the safe, how threatening will you be and how fast can you deal that 40,000 damage? This information is absolutely crucial to know if you want to ever get good at Heist, because the mode is all about just evaluating whether or not your team's going to be able to output more damage on the safe than your opponent, and whether or not you should sacrifice some of that damage to stay back and defend. So each of these different leaderboards will contribute to a different part of that decision making, but let's start with the single attack damage. So here are the top 15 brawlers from that category. At the very top is going to be Daryl. He does 3,360 damage with one attack. Very big boy. And then we got the big girl coming in second with Pam doing 3,276 damage, with Nani and Piper, you can see, are also up there, just very high damage brawlers. So if they ever get a single shot off on the safe, it is pretty devastating. But do keep in mind that for some brawlers, it's harder to get this damage off than others. For example, with Piper, it's not actually that difficult to get a shot off on the safe, but you do need to be at max distance in the bushes with your ambush star power to get that 2,900 damage. And for Daryl and Pam, you have to be right up there close on the safe. So the brawlers at the top of this list, you really just want to make sure you try to deny as many attacks as possible, because if they keep chipping it down once and then attacking you a couple more times, then getting in one shot, over time it's going to stack up simply because they're doing so much damage with a single attack. So these are going to be some important brawlers that you want to target. Next up is going to be the leaderboard for the amount of damage you can do with a single super. So at the very top is going to be Crow. If you stand in the very center of the safe and use your super and land right back down on top of it, nearly all of your poison blades are going to hit, dealing a ton of damage. I'm pretty sure this is the max that I could get, 8,288 damage with one super. Penny can just throw her turret on the safe, activate her gadget, and have that last blast star power deal a ton of damage to the safe. Brock can just aim it right and hit 5 different rockets on the safe for a huge amount of damage. And so these brawlers are basically going to be main threats that you want to focus on defending if they ever get near their safe and they have their super. Like if you see a Brock getting pretty close to your safe and he has his super, it's a good idea, if you are in the right position, to try to defend him rather than just leaving him about his business and going to aggress on the safe yourself. Now do keep in mind there are some exceptions here. I put asterisks next to the brawlers that can't really get consistent damage with this super. So like Crow, it's very difficult to be able to just get that high damage off because your opponents are never going to let you get directly on top of the safe. So if you see a Crow walking up towards your safe, if you provide any sort of threat level, he's not going to be able to make it directly on top of your safe and get that 8,000 damage. So it's sort of misleading in that sense. That's why I put asterisks next to their name, because it's very difficult to get that full damage. But Brock does not have the asterisk, so he's technically the most legit high damage super brawler, and I would say the highest threat in the game if he does have his super, followed by Rico and Colt are the next ones who don't have that asterisk. And it just so happens that these are basically the 3 best brawlers in Heist overall if you're just looking for pure damage, just because their supers are insanely good and they're all ranged, and ranged supers are going to be so much better in Heist because of that fact that you can consistently get them off if you ever do have your super and you're even remotely close to the safe. So the next leaderboard is going to be for total burst damage using 3 attacks and your super. So this is basically going to give you a good order of who you should defend if your opponents have a really good push and some people on their team are just getting quick bursts of attacks off. So Spike is at the top here with 18,000 damage, which is insane, but I do have an asterisk next to it because it does require that you attack directly on top of the safe to get the full 5,096 damage. It is very possible. It does require some perfect placement, but once again, it's super hard to get directly on top of the safe if your opponents are still defending. So it's very rare that you're going to get this full damage if your opponents are anywhere near the safe. But once again, Brock is at the top there with 15,500 damage for using all 3 of his attacks plus his super. Of course, you can maximize that damage with Incendiary, and that maxes out at 15,000 500 damage. Followed by Crow, mainly because of his high potential super damage, even though you're not going to get that off a lot of the time. And then Rico, another big one. If you have that super bouncy star power, you bounce 3 attacks off the wall to hit the safe, and you also do the same thing with your super. You're outputting almost 15,000 damage, an insane amount. That's a third of the safe right there with just 3 attacks and a super. So once again, Brock, Rico, and Colt are coming in at the top there with huge amounts of damage, as well as Penny, and then some throwers like Tick and Dynamite. This, I think, is probably one of the most important columns, because this is going to be the situation that happens most in game, where people are just going to get a small period of time where they have to output as much damage as possible while their opponents are maybe away or dead. So pure damage in this category essentially means they're a huge threat when you're considering who you want to defend, or if you want to defend at all. And then finally, the last column is essentially going to be a ranking of damage per second. This is the amount of damage a brawler is going to do if you just leave them on your safe and you completely go on the offense on your opponent's safe, and they have no way to charge their super, and they were kind of left with no ammo because they already bursted the safe. This is going to rank the threat level of those brawlers based on how much time it took for them to deal 40,000 damage under those conditions. I measured these plus or minus 1 second, I would say. And once again, at the top is Spike, except this time he doesn't have an asterisk, because if he's alone, it's super easy to find that perfect spot where you're dealing 5,000 damage per shot. Also, you have your gadget at this time, which you can use without charging it up at all, and that's going to deal like 9,000 damage. So you can take out 40,000 damage in 11 seconds with Spike. So Spike is by far the most important brawler to defend and not leave on your safe in a base race where both teams just go for the opponent's safe. If they have a Spike, they're going to out damage you. It's nearly impossible to win against a Spike. So make sure you just stay a bit more defensive if there's a Spike on your opponent's team, just so that they don't have that time to output all that damage on the safe. Now, second place is Rico, just because he has great reload speed and great overall damage output. This does require that you use a super bouncy star power, but still very, very good damage from Rico. Overall, Bull actually could have made it into second place. That's why I put an asterisk next to his name, because if you have the Berserker star power activated where you're less than, I think, 40% to 50% health, I'm not quite sure on the number off the top of my head, but where you have that extra reload speed, it actually only takes you 16 seconds to completely take out the 40,000 damage. But since that doesn't happen a lot of the time, that's why I put him down at a more realistic value of 28 seconds, which is when you don't have Berserker activated. Carl is also at 18 seconds, and I actually didn't think he would be quite that high, simply because I haven't played Carl too much, so I don't quite realize how much damage he can actually output. But on a lot of heist maps, the safe is only like 2 or 3 tiles away from a wall, so if you just stand on the safe and just keep spamming auto aim, it'll bounce off the wall and come super quickly back to you, especially if you have power throw, and just output almost 2,000 damage every time you do that. So it's a super quick way to output damage. You also have your gadget that lets you just get a bit of extra fire damage on the safe, and if you do manage to get his super, it deals an insane 7,000 damage. That's why he was 4th place on that leaderboard as well. So Carl, a very, very good pick for Heist. Colt once again showing up on the leaderboards in 4th place. With his gadget, you just get an insane amount of ammo, so it really ramps up your DPS. 8-Bit and Daryl just have really, really high damage output. El Primo with a super fast reload speed. Pam, once again, just super high damage and reload speed. Mainly these threatening brawlers are ones that have high reload speed, because those are the ones that, despite how much damage they can do over time, they're going to deal more damage than someone who maybe deals higher damage per attack but has a lot slower reload speed, like Brock. You can notice he doesn't show up on this leaderboard, even though he's really good everywhere else. So if you're playing Brock and you do a lot of burst damage, if your opponents leave you on the safe, you're not going to be getting as much value as you would out of a ton of other brawlers in the game. So at that point, it might be good to focus on defense, unless there's a lot of walking distance, and that's a waste of time in of itself. But you can see how these leaderboards should influence your decision making in Heist, and hopefully will indicate to you what your team should be doing at any given time. Like I said, you just want to win out on damage. If you're doing more damage, you win the game. It's as simple as that. So hopefully you learned a lot from this video. If you did, make sure to leave a like and a comment down below. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications if you want to see more videos like this. Also, go to your settings and make sure you have notifications enabled there as well, otherwise you won't get them. But that's all for today, guys, so see you later.